The Green Knight is a powerful movie showing the truths of what it means to be honorable, the fight to discover one's purpose between greatness and goodness, and the horror of playing life by comfort versus braving the unknown to meet one's own Green Knight. When I started the movie, I was under the impression it would be an almost exact retelling, if not more adventurous account of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. What I was not prepared for was the feeling of dread, sorrow, anger, and inspiration I discovered at the end, at the Green Chapel. Growing up, I was fascinated by King Arthur and his Round Table. It's affected all my works, be they fantasy, horror, and my very way of life. What I mean is that I hold my iteration of tales or characters very dear. My name is after one of the knights, a tale so romantic and tragic. So, when I saw the trailer for The Green Knight and heard the challenge, I was enthralled. But it was only in select theaters, and I never saw it on the silver screen. It wasn't until this year I popped open my disc I got from some occasion and sat down to recount the tale. I was ecstatic. I was eager. I was sad. I was angry. And I empathized. And I met the axe. King Arthur himself said, "Tell me a tale of yourself, so that I might know thee." Gawain replied, "I have none to tell, king." The queen said, "Yet. You have none to tell yet." Gawain faintly answered, "Yet." When we think about honor and knighthood, we turn to the legends, the Sword in the Stone, the Lady of the Lake, Morgan Le Fay's twisted son Mordred, who desires to usurp the holy Arthur, Sir Lancelot, the Holy Grail. And yet, what do we really know of honor? Our time is not bound by chivalry or lords. How often do we see things that are dishonorable? Who's to say what is honorable and what is not? No one here has been on a quest to uncharted lands, to face a dragon or recovered a piece of God. Nor any of us have dealt with the supernatural. Not like the legends. We read about their courage, how easily they decided to face such odds, to do what has never been done. No sign of fear, doubt, or cowardice. The Green Knight cuts that illusion down. We see a harsh, cold Camelot made by wars and conquering, where legends make men rather than the truth of them. On a battlefield, Gawain rides at the start of his journey, where he meets a scavenger who tells him that the king slew hundreds single-handedly. Yet, we met the king. We saw how weak-bodied he was. The man can barely lift his sword. He is no legend. The Round Table on that Christmas day trembled at the Green Knight's challenge. Gawain jumps in. The knightless one had courage and accepted it to earn greatness, to be honorable. Granted and blessed by the king's very own sword, he stands before the towering being with an axe. Is there a duel? A great battle that shakes the earth? No. The Green Knight sets the axe on the floor, bends the knee, and cranes his neck out for the strike. "'Tis only a game," Arthur said. "Indulge me in this friendly Christmas game," the knight proclaimed. "Then in trust and friendship we shall part." Off went the head, Gawain cut. Not a nick on the neck or a half-hearted swing. He struck hard and reckless to uphold the honor he desired. Yet he took a game too far, and the blow he dealt will be dealt back. And fear grapples Gawain the entire year he waits. What knight fears the honorable part of the deal? He dealt such and earned such fairly. A man has fear, a man with great expectations set for him. If he denies the call, then he is surely no knight, not an honorable man, but a coward, one who can't face the consequences of his actions. The king tells him that he must go. All tell him to go except Essel, Gawain's Babylonian lover, who questions the idea of greatness versus goodness. He set out his goal to be great and honorable, yet he does nothing, and at the first chance he did something worthy of it, and now he wants none of it. Nothing of honor when his life is at stake. Nothing of honor when his life is on the line. Why greatness? Why is goodness not enough? Essel asks, but Gawain gives no reply. He's lost in his trembling boots, dreading his confrontation. She asks him if he'll take her as his lady when he becomes a knight. He says nothing, no promises of true love or the like. All that he can dwell on is his honor and life. Yet he rides from the city out into the wasteland that is the kingdom. He passes a caged skeleton, a prisoner left to die horribly. Then he comes to a battlefield where men fought and perished with no one to bury them. There is honor expected of Gawain, but none for the men who died for the kingdom. But he proves no better when he pays little to the help of the scavenger, who in turn robs him of everything and leaves him to die. Much later he meets Saint Winifred, a fair lady who rejected a knight, who in turn beheaded her, tossing it in the pond. Gawain at first asks what he shall get in turn, to which she responds, "Why would you ask me that?" As a knight he should help her without question, without reward, but that's not what he does. And even when he retrieves the skull, he breaks it upon leaving. No care was given to the thing. All that mattered to him in that moment was not drowning. When Gawain meets the giants, his dishonorable ways strike again. He wants them to carry him the rest of the journey so he can get it over with. What sort of knight would choose the dishonorable shortcut? No knight would. They would continue the hard and difficult trek and dismiss any shortcut. That is what the tales of old told us. That is how I grew to see knights. But as a man, who wouldn't want the shortcut? Who wouldn't desire anything when you're lost and hungry like him when he met Winifred? You may say you know better, but we're comfy and safe. He is not. To fully dedicate one to honor is to reject the idea that we are human and open to wants. Who is to say that all honorable men commit all honorable acts? Is the king honorable for sending Gawain on a quest and allowing for his soldiers to be abandoned on the battlefield? Was it honorable for Gawain to fall in love with Essel, a Babylonian? Is it honorable of him to be afraid? Is it honorable to be human? We've come to the house of the Lord and the Lady, as has Gawain. You'll have to pardon my hesitancy and trembling words. This scene has a section that brings back horrors from their grave. The Lord does the honorable thing and gives Gawain hospitality as his quest is near the end. He asks for nothing but the participation of a game. He shall give the knight what he hunts, and Gawain in turn will give him something. But what can he give if the Lord owns everything? The temptress that is the lady has her eyes on him, attempting to bed him several times until she comes to his chambers on the last morning. There she sits upon him, offering the gift of the sash to protect him from all harm, if he bet her then and there. He refuses again and again, until she pins him, whispering, coercing, and he gives in. Yes, he says faintly. He did not want this. His words, a facade. And she forces him to finish with the shame on the sash in hand. Before she leaves, she tells him that he is no knight. He was coerced into that choice, dishonor forced upon him, the blame placed on him. He gives the Lord the kiss the lady gave him, nothing more, not all he received, and that is the only dishonorable action he took at his stay. Off he goes to the Green Chapel to face the Green Knight, and off with his head. When King Arthur hosts his Christmas feast, he addresses his Round Table, thanking them for all the work they have done bringing his rule to fruition in the land. That he is the luckiest to have had such legends, and asks them to regale me and my queen with some myth or canto of thine own purpose. All in the name of honoring Christ. That is when the Green Knight strides in with his challenge, a challenge addressed to whichever of your knights is boldest of blood and wildest of heart. Gawain the nephew fits this description, but the king's desire to meet it is known. Though my will longs to leap across this table and meet thee, my body will not follow. His greatness has passed. His body cannot claim more glory in his ragged age, only goodness. A small bit shines when he reminds Gawain that it is only a game. His queen, though of no glory, bears more goodness to note. She reminds Gawain that he has yet to gain tales, that in his peril of deciding what to do at the Green Knight's reluctance to strike, she tells him to have courage. But in his desire to seek the worthiness of knighthood and the greatness that entails it, he beheads the Green Knight. shouting to all that he accepted the challenge, that none should ever forget what happened here on this Christmas Day. His want of greatness led to taking a game too far, beheading his challenger, who returned the very blow 1 year hence. The glory was hollow, and it left nothing sustaining in his stomach, a crippling fear of what awaits him. When asked by his lover to describe the feeling of chopping off his head, he proclaims nothing, and that he was afraid, guising his answer that I am here and he is not. Reading Gawain's body language tells you that his hands were trembling. In the heat of the moment, he gained and lost nothing but a hollow victory. Now it comes near Christmas again, and he must seek out the Green Chapel to complete the game. It's funny to think that Gawain, who exclaimed that he had all the time in the world to gain glory, is not shaking at the idea of going to receive it, that he's afraid of being unworthy of greatness when Arthur tells him that he must complete the game. Gawain asks why. Is it wrong to want greatness for you? Arthur replies. Greatness, not goodness. The two are not the same. One weighs more worldly, and the other internally satisfying. In the end, what will matter more to you? What makes a life worth living? What makes it worth it? When talking to Essel before his journey begins, she questions his quest, referring to it as silly, to which Gawain claims that quests such as this is how brave men become great. Essel, who knows nothing of the standards set for men like him, questions the mold he's forced to fit inside, to make part of him. Why greatness? Why is goodness not enough? Can all the gold in the world fill one's heart with true friendship and love? Can all the glory and kingdom solve crippling loneliness? Can one quest make a man good where any other time he does no good? If the actions are small but meaningful, does that matter more than larger and hollower actions? If he tells her that he loves her, that in and of itself is greater than all the gold in the world. If he takes her as his lady, disregarding her poor status, then that act of goodness is enough. He is good, mayhaps. Maybe not too great, but good people are hard to find. Why do we admire Alexander the Great? Is it because he was a good person at heart? No. It was because of his actions, his conquests, his wars. All of that built a legend, a reputation, a myth. For some with the moniker of the great, they are outweighed by their worldly deeds, and more deeds equally damn them. When Gawain is ambushed by the scavengers, does that rob him of greatness? That he was fooled so easily and stripped of all his gear, yet he still managed to escape, though he did just barely. If he had the goodness in his heart to pay the scav the worth of his words, then he might not have been fooled. Or he might still have, but the disdain towards Gawain lessened. Going to retrieve Winfred's skull without reward earns him no greatness, that he struggles with. The thought of no reward for a great deed was foreign to him, as he learned that all deeds must be met by equal rewards. Yet Winifred makes no offer, none. And the thought of her spirit giving him any reward appalls her. Why would you ask me that? Why would you ever ask me that? What good knight would ask such? What good man would ask such? A feeble, selfish one. Though he still goes off and returns her lost head, and for that, the green axe is brought back. It was still a gesture of kindness, a small one with a feeble reward. Gawain presses on to discover the lord and lady's castle. There, upon one night where they're resting by the fire, the two nobles find themselves talking about honor and greatness briefly. Gawain is asked what he hopes to gain from his quest, to which he feebly answers, honor. The lord asks if Gawain is asking him, but despite the reassurances that honor is what a knight must seek, he's countered by, and is this what you want most in life? Does he want knighthood most? Does he want honor most? Not love, happiness, or peace, but honor. Without love, why have it? Without happiness, why have it? Without peace, why have honor? It does not resolve inner conflicts. It does not change oneself. The way it has matters to Camelot, his home. But when you're alone and away, it means nothing. This greatness that he seeks means nothing when outside the society he desperately wants a place in. Even great kings cannot escape the end, the threat of death. Greatness cannot save them from the Green Knight, from fate that awaits them. Greatness does not give ultimate satisfaction. Goodness, though not as worldly rewarding like its brother, is equal in weight, but more rewarding in self-satisfaction. Mother Teresa held little greatness, but made up for it in good deeds. Saints are commonly held in high regard for selfless deeds. As for kings of old, who remembers them save for historians? What is left of their legacy? Their desired greatness. Ozymandias said it best. Look on my words, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Nothing can save him from the blow that must be returned. Now crane your neck. You a knight yet? What? Are you a knight yet? Not yet. Better hurry up. I've got time. I've got lots of time. At the start of this journey, we catch a glimpse at the everyday life of Gawain, meddling himself with drink and Babylonians, wasting away his youth. The man who wishes to earn greatness and honor is squabbling instead of seeking, playing his days comfortably inside the walls of the castle, dreaming and believing that what he seeks will find him on his terms. That is something his mother realized, and to teach a lesson he won't ever forget. Upon Christmas Day, she calls upon the Green Knight and summons him with a challenge, one designed to catch Gawain in its spider's web, a game to force the turtle out of its shell. Yet she did not seem to foresee his rashness, or perhaps she did, and the girdle she presents to him is another lesson, like the axe. The symbols of Gawain the symbols Gawain carries with him on his journey are the lessons he must understand by the end of it. Why carry the axe? Why make it a reward whereas in the poem it was not? The Green Knight's axe, the consequence of his actions, the pain of uncomfort carried upon his back as he goes to the Green Chapel, to meet the blade at the end of the lesson. The same can be said for the belt wrapped around his waist, magically enchanted to protect him from all harm, a promise as long as he has it he will be the same, he will not be forced to face the uncomfortable, and when he returns his head will be held high. I interpret these words as a double-edged sword. She says one thing but means for him to do else. When she tells Gawain that his head must when she tells Gawain that his head will be held high, he'll have discovered to face the unknown, to brave it. If he had assurance that nothing will happen with the belt, why re-emphasize it? She tells him to wear it around your waist as you go, and if you wear it still when you return, doesn't match the reply she gives when he questions the idea of returning. More so, it's like she was going to say, when you return, you'll be the same as you were. He won't have undergone the hero's journey. She finishes off the conversation with, and boy, my boy, do not waste this. She's begging that he disregard the belt's guarantee at the end, that he face the Green Knight as the man he needs to be. Fortunately for her, but unfortunate for the cowardly Gawain, it is taken from him early, when the scabs rob him of everything. It makes the journey grueling. He suffers from starvation, the cold, and the loss of direction until he stumbles upon the Lord's castle. There he rests, comfortable in the uncomfortable twilight that awaited him in the Green Chapel. Half a day's travel. He's ready. Then comes the lady, offering the belt in exchange for infidelity, for dishonor, and he rejects for as long as his will holds out. But, like all serpents, they eventually get into the garden. Tainted, coerced, and shamed, he has the belt again, and he regrets his back. Progress stunted now that a guarantee is returned. Back into comfort as he rushes off to meet the Green Knight. Even the fox urges him to turn back, but he does not listen. He's determined, knowing that he will walk away but still contains seeds of fear. Those seeds show when he cranes his neck and rests on his knees for the blow that will be returned. He waits, thoughts racing, heart pounding, until he dodges the blow last minute and takes heel, away from the Green Chapel, whose knight does not give chase, to his horse, Gringelot, and returns home. He's knighted for a hollow deed. He's made king for his false legend. He turns his back on Essel and rips her son away from her, leaving her a poor Babylonian. He leads Camelot into wars that strip them of everything. He loses his son. He marries a princess. His kingdom falls apart and he finds himself alone. Gates nearly broken down. Then, some light goes off, and his hand reaches inside his garb to pull the girdle, to look upon it. Yet he keeps pulling and pulling. Ripping it from his gut, it became so entangled in. It became a part of him, until it's out. There's euphoria in his face, clarity, peace, and off goes his head onto the floor of the hollow throne. Now we're back at the chapel. Gawain staring at the floor, the vision gone. Was it real? Was it some spell that his mother cast to show him? Was it the chapel itself or the knight? Or maybe that's the last trick of the girdle to get him to take it off, that he will avail nothing good from clinging to it, that will make him the shadow of who he ought to be. This is his chance to be different. He yanks off the girdle and tells the Grey Knight he's ready. And he stops. And he stops, kneels down, and looks Gawain in the eye. "Well done, my brave knight," he says, and rests his thumb upon Gawain's chin. "Now," he drags his thumb across Gawain's neck. "Off with your head." Perhaps the Grey Knight let him go, seeing Gawain has learned his lesson and saw the fate of a safe life, an unhappy comfort. And his thumb across Gawain's neck was the same blow dealt, that he is to leave, to be off with your head, held high, as was promised if he overcame his fear of reaction, of challenge, of discomfort. Or maybe death was the acceptance of his actions on Christmas Day. We don't see the ending. It's however you see the end. What you feel is appropriate. What you feel is a better end. To die before becoming a rotted, fetid corpse of who you used to be, or use a life-threatening experience to break the mold of yourself and be reshaped. But regardless of what you think of this story, or what I have had to say, you've learned from this experience. You've come to my green chapel and returned the blow that was dealt. So now,
Off with your head.